man. Yo. Oh my gosh. Dude. What's up, brother? Nice to meet you in person.
You too, man.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
BETR already has the craziest multipliers in the industry, and we're taking it up a level. We're taking it up. It's going to be insane. 1,000x multipliers. You heard me right. 1,000x. All you got to do is add 4 boosts to your lineup. Not even that many. 4 boosts to your lineup, and get ready to win big. BETR has the UFC, so you can already lock me in there as a boost. We got the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, the MLB. They're all live in the app. Go download BETR. Use code BO. 1,000x. Win you some money.
Welcome back to Nickals and Dimes. Today we have another guest, and this man went from walking on to the Temple Owls football team to discovering his secret talent for art. This man has become one of the industry's leaders in sports cards and other artistic avenues in sports. He paints amazing portraits of athletes and teams across all sports, including working with the brother of the guy who's dating Taylor Swift, Eagles legend Brian Dawkins, and several others to create one-of-a-kind pieces of art. Now he has decided to make that Bo Nickel guy a card of his very own. So please welcome the Nickals and Dimes, Jordan Spector. How you doing, Jordan?
Thanks for coming on, brother.
Great intro.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ronan's the king of intros. Yeah. He's getting good at it.
Yeah. We're getting better. Slow
Swift in there.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. Oh man.
Need the clicks.
Yeah. More exposure.
Let's just hop straight into the card itself. We just caught like a good view of it.
Yeah.
Let's throw up just like a small clip of Bo reacting to it. But yeah, Jordan, just kind of go into what kind of it takes to make something like that.
Yeah, so it's a process in itself, not only making the artwork, but conceptualizing it. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it prior to me actually putting pen to paper. So I really like to put myself in the shoes of the individual that I'm focusing on. And that's been really important for me, that I've realized over the years of just creating art. It really helps inspire me to create something even greater than I could imagine initially. Because like Bo or Brandon Graham or Brian Dawkins, like I can think of moments of them, but until I actually watch like highlights and the way that they carry themselves and what they're about, I can't really come up with the best idea. So for me, that's where it starts, is watching. I did a ton of highlights, wrestling highlights, UFC highlights, Joe Rogan podcast. It was fun, and that really helps me tap into some deeper concepts. So that's the first phase, and then once I do that, do some picture research, then I just start playing around with ideas until something hits. And it doesn't even always hit right away, but I start with kind of the pose, right? The angle that I want, which was this. How can I bring the most energy? Because that's my thing, is I really like to bring a lot of energy with the work that I do, bring out that passion, whether it's for football or combat sports or whatever the case is. So that's kind of what I focus on. So once I get to that point, then I just kind of run with it. So I dive into Bo's background, not only in UFC, but wrestling and the history of that, the history of Penn State, and just kind of tie it all together. So that's kind of how I go throughout my process. And I didn't really picture this total thing at first, but as I work through it, to kind of how can I involve the Nittany lion and the intensity that animal has in life, and tie it in with Bo and the intensity he has wrestling, fighting the UFC, and then bringing in the cage aspect of it, the cage breaking, which ties into the box too that Bo is holding, kind of tie, like, it's not only the card, it's tying together the card and the box and making it an experience. So when somebody gets that box, they feel like they're maybe in the cage with Bo, or they're feeling that moment. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I feel like you hit the nail on the head with the experience of it, right? Like, that's such a cool and special thing. I feel like a lot of times when I'm fighting, I say I've had this idea in my head where I put so much time and effort and years of my life into being able to like perfect my craft, and when I go out to fight, it's almost like everybody in the arena or everybody watching like kind of experiences that with me. And they're not necessarily, they haven't committed their lives the same as me in that regard, but they get like a taste of that in that moment. Like when I do something cool or, you know, get a victory or knock a guy out or pin a guy or whatever it is, then it's almost like they kind of, we kind of create a common ground. Like they feel that elation or that excitement or like see something that they've never seen before. And that like connects us in a way where it's like the experience of the art when somebody like I could just feel it when you unveiled it and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like it's like a weird, crazy connection that the artist has with the people that get to enjoy that. And I think that, you know, it's cool to hear you talk about that for sure.
How long did that kind of like take you to end up from like the idea to actually like drawing it out?
Well, my good friend Frank Murphy had me thinking about it months and months ago. So it was a build-up, and I'm already a UFC fan, so that helps a ton. And I knew of Bo's rise in the UFC, and like before I even knew him or knew Frank, you know, it's cool to now tie that together. But I knew of him, this Penn State guy who was a wrestler, as a UFC fighter. I was like, oh, it's pretty unique. You know, so I've been able to watch that journey, and now being able to actually work with Bo and do this is surreal. So I started thinking about it last year, and then when I connected with Bo beginning of the year, I started thinking then, but I didn't start actually going deep into it till like mid to late February, and then really put the pen to paper in March. So I can't put a number on it, but probably like a month at least. You know, and then prior to that, because the boxes take longer to make physically, I have to do that design work first. So it's been months in the making, we'll say. Yeah, for sure.
It's so crazy because that makes me think back to like Apple and like their packaging, how it's like an experience to open. And that's how I kind of like think of your cards as well. Like I just opened up one of the Brian Dawkins ones, and it's like a whole experience in itself. Like there's stuff inside the box, and you have a couple different papers in there to explain. Like that's super cool. Did you kind of take inspiration from anywhere with that, or?
Yeah, well, definitely Apple. That's one of them. And other products that I've bought where that packaging like makes it feel like an experience. Like I've noted that what that feels like. And there are other couple artists out there doing like their own creative cards. There's one guy out in California, shout out Piggy Banks. He initially really helped me tap into the packaging game and what, because I bought one of his cards and he had cool packaging, and I was like, man, like this is next level. So I really wanted to, if I'm going to get into this card thing, I want people to feel the experience and also feel like they're getting the value for money they spend on anything that I make. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, for those of the viewers that don't know, how many cards have you made so far?
So this is my third official card. And when I first got into this last year, it led to me trademarking an entire new brand called Immortals, because my art brand is Spector Sports Art. My last name is Spector, and that's what I've been growing for years now. But the card thing didn't really start till last year. And like I said, I created Immortals, which is the brand, the trademark brand. So this is my third card that I'm launching. And first ever UFC card.
Nice.
That's a really cool name. What's the thought process behind Immortals?
So, I mean, I'm starting out with a guy like Brian Dawkins, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what word kind of, for me, explains, you know, what he left for fans in the respective sport he played in life, and what is a word that could apply to many different guys. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was Immortals. It was actually pretty cool too, because he's strong in his faith, and he provided a Bible verse about what Immortals makes him feel, which was really cool. That tied into it, and you know, it kind of just grew from there.
That's awesome.
Having Immortals be like the headline. So
timeless legacies. You got it going on. It's a great setup.
And I'm gonna be making another shirt like this too for you as well. It'll
Let's
be
go.
metallic. It'll have iron sharpens iron on the back.
Oh,
you know?
heck yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
I'm pumped about that.
Yeah. So how did you kind of like get into, like, were you an artist all your life, or was this something that you kind of just like discovered randomly, like that you were super talented? Like, did you just make like sick doodles in elementary school?
Oh, I was a heavy doodler. I mean, it's funny too when you think back to that, because like usually instead of taking notes, it would just be circles are like the weirdest. It's cool to think back too, because sometimes I'm like, man, I should have kept some of those like doodles I made, because it would just be wild stuff that I'm not even. It's something you do, you're not thinking about, but you're just doing it, and you know that is a small piece of my practice in art. But I've been an artist my whole life, and God-given talent. My dad is a talented artist too, and I'm self-taught, but really I learned a lot of my skills through my dad. I didn't go to school for art. I did take art classes in high school just as another excuse to channel my passion for art, but it was always a hidden talent, and I never ever would have thought it was a career that I would take on. Nobody even knew that I was an artist in high school, and not even in college until I played football at Temple, which you mentioned in the intro, and I was a walk-on there. That was amazing, and I got hurt, so I was like, what do I do now? So I leaned back into artwork, and that allowed me to still channel the passion for football and other sports through my art. That was the first time I started doing like sports artwork just for fun. And then I made an Instagram, and then people were like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And this is back in like 2015. And ever since then, I haven't stopped. And now it's what I do for a living. So it's cool to tie together sports and art, and two things that I love.
Definitely. I had a question. Do you feel like, I feel like for most people don't get to pursue a career that's also their passion, right? What do you feel like that means for you when, it's your career and you've dedicated a lot of time and effort into it, but it's also the thing that, like, you wake up, you're probably really excited to do it. How do you feel like, you manage that? Because it's an interesting kind of balance of, it's how you provide for yourself and how you pay the bills, but it's also like something that you love.
Yeah, that's a super important topic for any artist, especially any artist that might listen to this. But like, it's really hard to transition from hobby and passion and the love for art to, okay, how do I do this for a living? How do I make it a business? Because some artists will tell you it's 30% art, 70% business. I like to think it's 50-50. But I've had to also self-teach myself business practices and how to run a business, marketing, social media, content, all that stuff. And it's allowed me to create and learn new skills myself just in the business side of running an art business. But I don't know, I kind of just enjoyed the transition. Like, I thought it was amazing that somebody would want to pay me to make a painting or a drawing for them. And I was like, wow, like, I liked the idea. And then there were times like, okay, now I'm doing a little bit too much. Like, initially I was just taking on whatever to just feel out what I enjoyed creating. So I was doing house portraits, dogs, families, and then mom's like, well, my face looks off, and then, I was like, all right, well, I'm not doing any more family portraits,
No, that's just your face.
No, it was like, I'm sorry, I'm very detailed. Oh, I didn't say that, but like, that's what I was thinking. Like, I'm just creating
my main artistic strategy is realism. So
I keep it real. I mean, but yeah. So I think it can be hard. Like, I wouldn't expect an artist like to be able to do that, because it's like not everybody enjoys it. Like, I enjoyed it enough where I could take it and keep building on it. But I know a lot of artists that I've helped like make a website for them, like help them tap into how to grow their business, because there's artists that are more talented than me, and I continually try to push them like, hey, do this, do that, because they're trying like, hey, like, I'm stuck, so it can be really tough to have that business side of it. But I enjoy it.
That's cool. That's probably really important that, well, like you said, it's 50% of the actual art, 50% business, and if you don't have like one or the other, it's like, if you don't have the talent, then it doesn't really matter. And if you might have all the talent in the world, if you don't have the business sense, then it's also not gonna ever really get out there. So that balance is really interesting. I think it's very similar to MMA. There's a lot of parallels between athletics, I think, and art, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you take me back real quick to when you got hurt? Because I'm interested in, I feel like a lot of successful people that pursue their passion, oftentimes there's a moment where they were diverted from one passion that they thought was going to be their road to the other one. So, and we're reading a book right now called The Obstacle is the Way. So sometimes it seems like God allows obstacles for us to continue on that route and to toughen us up and to see how bad we want it and to learn from that and continue on that road, or to push us to something else where he actually wants us to pursue. So what was that transition like from when you got hurt to when you got into the art?
Yeah, it's very identical to those situations where it's like you don't expect to go that path, but God takes you that way, and you're like, after it happens, you're like, aha,
Yeah.
you know, now it makes sense, you know. But in the moment, sometimes you don't realize what's actually happening. But I think everything happens for a reason, and you know, when I got hurt playing, that was a super emotional time for me because it was up to me to make the decision to keep playing football or not.
Got it.
I was a walk-on at Temple, and like I already had concussions playing football in high school, and it was always a little bit of a concern for any player. And then I got another one at Temple, and that's really what, like, I was honest with the doctor. Hey, I've had X amount of concussions, you know, and that's when the doctor told me, like, hey, maybe you should consider, you know, saving your brain health,
Yeah.
you know, step away now. Do you have a shot at the NFL? Probably not, you know. So those are all things that I took into account, and it was such a hard decision to do that because I had played football most of my life, and that was, you know, the course I stayed on. But yeah, once I stepped away, like I leaned back into the art and did it for fun, and then, you know, like I said, never expected it to be a full blown career, and it didn't happen overnight either.
Yeah.
It was being consistent over years and years of putting in the work and slowly learning the different aspects of how to run a business, and but yeah, you know, you kind of just gotta be strong in your faith and just go the route that might not make sense initially, but you continue to follow that, you know. So
Got it.
Right.
It's cool.
Definitely. Yeah.
Turning into something different here, what about like entering? So you said this is your third sports card. What kind of gave you the idea to transition? I've seen some of the other artwork you made. We'll flash it on the screen of like the big picture of like all the Eagles players and like some of the stuff you've done for the Phillies and Sixers, like all that. What kind of inspired you to start doing actual sports cards?
So back in 2020, 2021, I started to, well, first of all, before that, when I was a kid, I was super nerd, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh card collector, always going after the rarest cards that were out there, trying to squeeze as much money as I could from mom and dad to buy, you know, the next pack or the next card I could find. So I think it started at a young age from that, just collecting stuff and really enjoying the experience. But it's cool that it came to fruition all these years later and came back into being relevant for me in like 2020, 2021, when really the card industry seemed to take off again. And Topps, you know, one of the biggest companies in sports cards, they started doing these artist collaborations. They did Topps 2020, Topps 70, Topps 100, and even now they're still doing more artist collaborations. So I saw that, and I did see a couple independent artists do their own card releases, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. Like, I would love to do that. And it took me like 2 years to actually make it happen, but I was thinking about it for like 2 years, really, and really wanting to, like, I already do the canvas work. I've done murals. I've done large-scale stuff. It was like, I think it'd be really cool to have this small canvas and the value that can come from that, too. Like, I started to learn about the value of the cards, and some of these collectors who buy my artwork, they have these $1 million card collections. I'm like, this is crazy, you know? So I just thought it'd be really cool to take that next step and make that a part of my business. And I was like, what relationship could I leverage that of somebody who I think would really be into this and would be a perfect first card? And that was Brian Dawkins. And kind of just went from there.
That's just so crazy, especially because Brian Dawkins, like, that's a Philadelphia legend.
Yeah.
Like,
Ronan loves the Eagles.
oh my gosh. Yeah. So next question.
I grew up on B-Doc.
Yeah, he's got some great moments. Yeah, he's awesome.
One of the hardest hitters in NFL history.
Yeah.
If not. So the next question is, why is Philadelphia better than Allen, Texas?
You want the short version?
Yeah, well, you obviously love Philadelphia, and Philadelphia sports. So instead of making a competition, because nobody here wants to do that, let's just talk about, you know, how Philly sports has impacted you. And obviously you do a lot of work with the athletes in Philly. Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up a fan of all the Philly teams, and especially football because I played football. But it's cool. Speaking of Brian Dawkins, like, not only did I grow up on him, but he was like an individual who influenced me to want to play football. Him and my cousin, who was a very, very talented football player. I just loved the intensity he had for the game and the passion. I was like, I want to be that guy. You know what I mean? I want to be that intense on the field and that humble off. You know, like, I just loved his demeanor and everything about what he did, and that was kind of my initiation to loving football and Eagles and going from there. But it's just cool to be able to, you know, these guys that are these kind of superheroes on the field, to be able to work with them and take their passion, what they care about so much, and turn it into you know, an everlasting image, you know, and capture that moment, whether it's a moment in time or a whole career, and, you know, immortalize it, you know, immortals. So it's just special for me, surreal for me to be able to work with these guys and make the art that I do. And it's really rewarding too when I can see the reaction that fans have, that people that are fans of the athlete, and they buy my work, and like them buying my work, you know, I'll get comments like, hey, like, you know, I looked at your painting that I bought a year ago, and like, dude, I can't stop looking at it. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. You know, awesome. It's just, you know, I think it all happened for a reason, to be able to give people that feeling, and it's special.
Is there anyone from Philadelphia that you still are like trying to work with, like individually? Like, who's the next sports card that you're trying to go after?
I mean, there's a lot of guys I'd love to work with. A very relevant one is Jason Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
I already had the opportunity to meet him last year. Really nice guy, really, really cool dude. And I would love to make that happen. They just got Saquon Barkley in Philly.
Oh, yeah.
Another Penn Stater.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be something in the works with that. And I might be doing something with Allen Iverson.
Oh, yeah.
So
there's a lot of Philly sports, like, I don't know. Being from Texas, I'm like, I don't really pay attention to Philadelphia. You know, I never did. But, you know, you're naming these names, I'm like, wow. There's a lot of good athletes from Philly.
Right?
Yeah, Ronan's always talking about it. I'm like, what?
Rocky.
Oh, dude, that would be crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Do a Sylvester Stallone, do the Rocky card. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That'd be iconic.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
As far as like your favorite piece that you've done, maybe not like sports card, do you have anything that sticks out as far as that, or it kind of like
Nickal.
Yeah, let's go, man. Let's go. I love it.
This was cool. I love a new challenge as well, and like a new sport that I haven't been able to really like explore and recreate, you know, so it was cool to go down this path and do something totally different than football and Philly sports related. So I'm very appreciative of that. But as far as like, I always get the question, what's your favorite piece of artwork that you've made?
Right.
And for me, like, almost every piece I've made has a story behind it, or like some of them are like an interesting reason as to why it happened. But to me, one of the most proud pieces is the one that took me 2 years, which is that Eagles montage that you've seen. Man, I still think back to how much time I put into that. And I was still like, I don't know if I could do it again, because it took me 2 years to make that. 41 players, coaches, 15-foot canvas.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Where's that one at now?
So a gentleman commissioned that. He lives in Newtown, PA.
Gotcha.
And it literally hangs in his living room.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's intense.
But I like, it's cool too, like the after effect of something, because sometimes I'll be so focused on it and working so hard on it, I don't even think about, you know, okay, will people like it or not? I don't even think about the after effects of it. I'm just so into it. But when I put that thing out there, it went viral. Like, it was the most viral thing that I've done. And it was a cool experience to have all that happen.
It's a lot of people. 41.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's all I could fit.
Like, putting that on a canvas is insane. Well, it was like not only a bunch of the Super Bowl, like players on the Eagles that won the Super Bowl, it was all like the legends too, wasn't it? So it was like, and you got all of them to sign it, right?
So that became a newfound ambition. Basically, I already had whatever connections with some of the retired guys, Brian Dawkins, and some other guys. And after I made it and it started to blow up, you know, a lot of these guys wanted their own replica of it. So still to this day, I'm working on this. It feels like an everlasting endeavor, but I basically give each guy their own canvas replica, and I have a set of prints I'm having each guy sign. So I literally have 8 guys left
Wow.
to get done over the past 2.5, 3 years. So I'm almost there.
Has Nick Foles signed it?
He did. He was
Wow.
one of the most recent, and he was hard to get.
Wow.
I bet.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a pro pickleball player now.
Is he playing
Really?
pickleball
Yeah.
professionally?
Wow.
Nick Foles.
Wow.
Professional pickleball player.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is news to me.
Would not have thought that.
No.
That's cool.
You also do a lot of work with the Special Olympics. How did that partnership kind of blossom?
So each card project, it's important to me to like tap into something that we can support through the project that Bo or Brandon Graham or Brian Dawkins is passionate about. So for this, I actually asked Bo something that we could support through the project, and that was Special Olympics of Pennsylvania. So that's what we chose to support through the project, and it's been great working with them already, and I'm excited to be able to hopefully raise some money for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was one thing that when you brought the project up to me, I thought was really cool and a really special part of it because, you know, it's nice to be in a position where you can give back and support. And I've always loved the Special Olympics and appreciate what they do and giving athletes, you know, opportunities to compete and stuff. And I really appreciated that about the project. It's pretty cool.
What are some other other partnerships that you've had in that aspect? Like Special Olympics, like Brian Dawkins and BG, did they do something as well?
Yeah, so Brian Dawkins has his Brian Dawkins Impact Foundation, and he's very big on, I'm trying to think of the correct terms he uses, cerebral wellness, and, you know, him battling with depression as a player and him helping, you know, kids deal with those same issues, and he does a great job. He's super passionate about anything that he goes after, and it's really cool if you ever get to listen to him speak about why he does it, why he started the foundation. And then Brandon Graham, he wanted to support a foundation in Philly called Operation Kids Next Door that support inner city kids to keep them out of trouble and let them be together in a community of gaming and playing video games and hanging out. And so he had a special connection with them. So it's been cool. So both foundations, we have raised $10,000 or more for both from both projects. So
Sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like nice to give back too. Like,
yeah, and I know it's going to something that not only are they passionate to support, but it actually helps make a difference for their cause.
right. So do you still like collect cards and stuff too, or you're just like that? Like, doesn't look as good.
So I did as a kid, like I said, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. I actually was never that into sports cards, but really ever since 2020, 2021, seeing these artist collaborations, I actually know some of the artists that worked with Topps or still work with Topps, and I've collected some of their cards. And now, you know, due to that much more exposure to the card market and friends of mine that are in card collecting, I've definitely gotten more into it. So whether it's an actual art card or a card from Topps, like I bought a whole box of Topps cards over the holidays, not only because of there was certain like chase cards in there and stuff that I thought were really cool, but I just wanted to, you know, feel that experience again of a customer buying cards opposed to me selling a card. So
Right.
I tapped into that a little bit. So
Yeah, that's cool. How do you feel like, you know, honestly, I feel like, so you brought up there's a lot of artists that work with Topps and stuff. How do you feel like doing your own project, like from nothing and creating it all yourself versus like just maybe partnering up with one of these companies? Like, what drew you to doing your own thing?
well, I think the first was that Topps never hit me up. So
They missed out. They missed out.
I know. You know, hopefully I'm on their radar, but and I would still do work for them or other companies. I've done a lot of stuff with Fanatics over the past couple of years. But I think, again, everything happens for a reason. I think it was meant to be that I would follow this path and create this new brand and do things the way that I want to do them and kind of control my own destiny with the cards. Because I see a lot of potential to this. And this is, for me, like, I feel like this is only the beginning of this Immortals thing. And, you know, every project I'm trying to make that much better than the last one. And certain individuals don't think I'll be able to top this one, so it'll definitely be hard. It'll definitely be hard. But yeah.
Well, it's definitely nice that it's your first MMA card. Like, I think I'm really honored that I'm the first guy to have you make a card of me in the fighting space, and so I think that's pretty cool. And another thing I think is pretty cool that I want to talk about is like all the layers and details of this specific card. I'm sure you do this with all of your cards because that's how you work. But I just think that's like such an awesome thing. You know, you have so much depth to it. Can you speak to that a little bit and like how, you know, intricate it is, the process and everything?
Yeah. For me, like, especially with something like this where you've already left a legacy at Penn State and you have a whole wrestling career, and then now you already have a legacy in the UFC that you're going to build on. So there's already depth to the story. So for me, I got to have that much more depth to the artwork. And like, it's kind of a play on words too, like with the iron sharpens iron, like feeling that iron literally like on the box, like the cage,
right?
The cage behind the logo, like even in the background of the box. And then the artwork, same thing, you know, you're literally ripping the cage. You know, and then you got the cage behind you, you got the metal chains all around you too. So, you know, that in itself was something I wanted to highlight, you know, what that quote means, what that, you know, brings out in the artwork. And then, you know, again, just creating a story through those layers. So, you know, even like the background, like that could be a wall. It could be another like dimension or part of a lion, you know, like you don't really know what it is, but it's kind of back there behind that other cage fence. And then you got the Nittany Lion paws coming out, you know, ripping through that blue wall. And then you got the UFC cage, and then you got the chains. So, yeah, I think that is really what makes it be on another level,
right?
Is when you can kind of look into it and feel like it's going back, and it's not just one flat image. Yeah,
that's sweet, man.
Cool, dude.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It shows like how much you spent the time to like get to know him, even if it's like virtually, because there's like so many layers to it. So
yeah, for sure.
Like someone, like anyone can just probably paint something, but it really shows that there's a lot of depth to him and as an individual, and it shows through the art. So I think it's cool that you put that effort in, because it definitely makes it worth it.
Appreciate it.
So what's moving forward for you? Do you have more projects? And I know you just like this isn't even really done yet, but do you see more projects on the horizon? What's kind of your next steps and goals for the card specifically, and also just your art in general?
So, I mean, I've really been focused on these cards and Immortals, and I think that can continue to grow to be very big, and that's really been my main focus. And it's really a balancing act, trying to balance the cards and actual larger canvas work, and but I'm just taking it one day at a time. That's how I've always approached what I do with the art and this business, because like it's kind of crazy, but like when you own a business, like nothing's guaranteed the next day or the next month or anything like that. I don't think that way, but like sometimes like that is the reality. And for me, I just take it one day at a time and try to focus on what's in front of me. So like for right now, it's been Bo Nickal, this project, like really, really trying to rock the world with this and then move on to the next. So for me, it's doing some of these other card projects we talked about, and you know, a couple other concepts I've been thinking through. But really, really, it's been a heavy focus on the cards.
Nice. Yeah, it's pretty sick. Should we take a look at it? I haven't seen the actual card yet. I've just seen the canvas, the artwork. So let's check it out here. Oh my god, dude! It looks even cooler as a card. That's crazy. Oh, the box is so sweet too. Check that out, guys. Oh yeah, y'all got one over here. So this is the base.
Yeah, so that's actually the rainbow foil.
Wow.
This is
Yep.
rainbow foil.
Yep.
Dang,
And Tony has the base card over there.
that's sick.
It looks cooler as the card. That's insane
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it just
when you-
pops.
When you shrink it down, and on the canvas you don't have the words, the Bo Nickal or the rookie card.
Right.
So it really ties it together.
Dang, that's insane, man. I've never seen a card like this, and I love cards. So this is gonna be forever my favorite. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's so clean. Even the box and stuff.
Yeah, and then the back is very cool as well with the all the information and stuff.
Yep. And I got the quote in there about your wife.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. She'll love
Gotta
that.
show some love there.
Definitely. Wow. That's awesome, man. This is insane. Even like the what would this be called, Frank? The case. One touch? Yeah, even the one touch is like so cool with the sticker. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's all about the details for me.
So many details. Yeah, it's so cool. See that? That's sick.
The ace.
Yeah, I love that.
That's sick.
Yeah, once you see it.
Frank helped with that one.
That was great.
Well, it's crazy when you think about that because people this is art. Like it's not like you wouldn't expect to pull this out like a pack, and it's crazy that you can hold that piece of art
Right.
like in your hand. Like I think that's a crazy difference between that and just seeing it on a big canvas too.
Yeah. This is kind of random, but did you ever do NFTs or anything like that?
I did. I got my feet wet with that
Yo,
back when it was, doing its thing. And I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to go with the NFT stuff, but I actually did a project with Terrell Owens and a couple other artists where we all did our own little rendition of TO and but I definitely think that'll be a thing of the future for sure. And this could even become
right.
a digitized version where it's
Right.
animated and there's movement to it. And
Yeah, those are the coolest ones.
Yeah, the movement. Yeah, that'd be cool. The animation and stuff. Wow. Dang. Yeah, well, this is freaking sweet. I love this stuff. I love art, and obviously I've really been getting into cards and stuff lately. And for me, it was crazy to even have a card of me. It was kind of came really unexpectedly after my Contender Series fights. All of a sudden, there was cards popping up, and I was like, "Oh, whoa, that's cool. I should probably collect those." And now to have like one that's completely custom and who somebody that takes it to the level that you take it. I mean, like I said, this is easily the coolest card that I've ever had done of me, and I don't think the only way it'll be topped is if we do another one. But
It's
yeah,
on.
man. Yeah, I love it. It's so cool. So cool.
Yeah, and we talked about that too. Like,
Yeah.
this is the inaugural. This will always be the OG card. But even with like Dawkins too, we're planning to do another card in the future.
Yeah.
There might not ever be a larger card run than this first card, but different moments throughout your continued legacy and career. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff we can do.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely more cool moments to come, and capturing those will be fun.
Yeah, and it's interesting too what you said about seeing those first cards, because I feel like those paths have now converged where you never really had cards like that of yourself, and now you've kind of tapped into that, and it led up to now where you're really into the card game,
Right.
collecting cards. And I started doing this last year, and now we're meeting in the middle on
Yeah.
doing something like this. So
Yeah.
I think it's pretty special.
Definitely is like a interesting like meeting in the middle, right? Like how it was. Yeah, you were working on it at the same time. You were working on the projects, and then now just another cool thing to enjoy, and yeah, that's great. I'm can't thank you enough, man. Appreciate you, all your work.
Just to wrap things up here, how can I buy one of those?
So as of right now, we are launching April 18th. So when that happens, or prior to that happening, you can sign up. We have a landing page on our website. You'll see the landing page on Bo's socials, my socials. If you go there, that'll be your best early access that we'll have. And if you sign up there, you will easily be the first person notified when it launches on the 18th. And when that happens, like, we're going to put out a blog as well that has all the information, all the different variations in the project. Like, this is just one of the many variations. So when that day comes, then everything will be live and you can purchase a card. So there's going to be a total of 2,717 cards tying into Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron. Everything ties back to that, and that's going to be the final launch on the 18th.
Sweet.
SpectorSportsArt.com.
And then there will be a bunch of parallels, right? Like within that. So will people, when they order a card, like they could get a more limited run, right?
Yeah. So how it works, and I really wanted this again to be an experience, and also to be something that people feel like anybody feels like they have access to, instead of releasing different variations of cards that are different prices, because you could have someone that comes in and just buys all the more expensive stuff and nobody else has a chance to get it.
Right.
Where the way I do these projects is we have a reasonable amount of cards being released. It's still limited edition. So for this is 2,717, and they're all $75. But when you buy a card, you could get a base card, which is even awesome in itself. But you also have the bonus chance to land a variation. You have the rainbow parallels, other parallels will be in there, and that'll all be in the blog that we put out too. And this is the first project that I haven't even showed any of you guys yet. Frank's the only one that knows about it, but we're gonna have a chase card in the set too.
Oh,
it's gonna be a
man.
fun
I know what you're
version of
talking
that.
about.
Heck yeah.
Yep. So
That's crazy.
I'm adding a whole nother layer of excitement to the project. So, but yeah, there's gonna be, I think 434 parallels and 77 autograph cards total. So that'll, you'll have a chance when you buy a card to get one of those too.
Super cool.
So
Sweet.
Oh,
and a portion of all the proceeds, as we talked about, goes to Special Olympics as well.
Mm-hmm.
amazing. To get that link, it'll be right in the description so you can sign up, so you'll be the first one to know about when the card drops, and make sure you get in there. But Jordan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. That's insane. I have no other
Thank you,
words other
guys.
than that.
This was
Oh, yeah,
fun.
thank you, brother.
Yeah,
For sure.
appreciate it.
It's tough when I have to hold it in for weeks at a time. So it's good to finally get it out and talk about it.
I
Absolutely.
just feel bad you had to stare at this mug for 2 months.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Yeah, well, thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Sweet.
See ya.